Good evening, everybody, and welcome back once again to The Edward. I am your host, Eddie, and welcome back to another edition of Nerdtastic News. So, in today's edition of Nerdtastic News, there's a lot of things and a lot of stories to cover. Now, a couple of these stories and the current events I'm about to discuss have been, they're still fairly new, and they've happened in the past 3 to 4 weeks, but because I have been on hiatus for so long, I'm going to talk about them anyway. So right off the top of my head, the first thing I want to talk about is how Warner Brothers has officially hired the writer who just wrote the Goosebumps movie, which is due out later this October with Jack Black, which I hope is funny. But anyway, they have hired that writer who just wrote the new Goosebumps movie to write the remakes or slash reboot of the Gremlins franchise. So, it's been in the talks for a while now, and nothing has really been confirmed or made official. But, I mean, the fact that Warner Brothers has hired somebody to write the remake or the reboot of the Gremlins franchise is a sign that they're moving forward. This is a step forward in filmmaking. So, so they're definitely having somebody write it. Now, whether or not how good the quality of that script is, and if anybody wants to go near it, and Warner Brothers okays it, is another matter. But for now, it seems like they've okayed it in the sense that they want somebody to write it. Maybe they thought to themselves, okay, you know what? It's been about 30 years, and Gremlins is still hot with a lot of people. So let's go ahead and just do a reboot or a remake, because hell, we've got nothing else to do except our DC cinematic universe. So besides all of our superhero movies, which might tank or which might be a hit, let's do a remake of one of our horror movies, one of our most beloved horror comedy movies. So I'm curious. I'm not, I enjoy Gremlins like anybody else. I'm not a huge, massive fan, but I enjoyed it well enough. It's a fun creature feature for me. I will never forget this. The very first time I saw it, it scared the hell out of me. I was absolutely terrified of it. Oh, I had the most horrific nightmares that night, and I did not sleep a wink. And I think I had nightmares for the rest of that week, actually. And it took me a good long while to recover from how terrified I was of that movie before I could watch it again years later. And obviously when I watched it a second time, I loved it. I was much older and more prepared this time. I was like, oh, well, that wasn't as scary as I remembered it. So fortunately, I got over that. But it was terrifying the first time I saw it. I must have been 9-10 years old, maybe. Yeah, it was a while ago, but it scared the hell out of me. But I thought it was something newsworthy, because it's probably something that a few of you or a number of you might be looking forward to or are not looking forward to. But I thought I'd bring it up because it is Nerdtastic related news. All right, so moving on, Kevin Feige, or Feige, I'm really sorry if I'm butchering his last name, but Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, has confirmed that the Spider-Man reboot set for 2017 is going to be once again another origin story where Peter Parker is once again in high school. Now, that honestly doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, because it's like, oh, okay, well, that's hardly shocking. I mean, if you're rebooting a reboot, a fairly new reboot, then it makes sense. You'd want to start fresh, scrap everything that just happened and start fresh. This is a chance to do Spider-Man right, unlike the last two movies. Although, I shouldn't say that, because I did like The Amazing Spider-Man, and I enjoyed parts of Amazing Spider-Man 2. The key word there is parts. Anyway, so yeah, it didn't take me as a huge surprise when Kevin Feige said, "Oh yeah, our reboot of the Spider-Man story is going to be set in high school, and Peter Parker is going to be a high school student." I'm like, fine, okay. Just what I am curious about though is, are they going to do the origin story like they did in the very, very first Spider-Man? He's in high school. Uncle Ben gets shot. He becomes Spider-Man. He graduates, and then he collides courses with his best friend's father, Norman Osborn, a.k.a. Green Goblin. It's really hard to tell, because obviously we know nothing yet about Marvel's one of Marvel's newest properties. And I say newest because they haven't had the rights for so long, but now they finally do, thank God. It's hard to say what they're going to do, so it seems like all we know for now is that they are definitely doing, they are setting the reboot in with Peter Parker in high school. So you know what? I think the fact that everybody knows that Marvel now has Spider-Man once again, and people know like what kind of roles he could play in future Marvel movies. I think we can all just suck it up for one more origin story, just one more, and then we can enjoy the rest of it, whatever follows. And knowing Marvel, I'm sure they'll make it good. They'll make it interesting. It'll be bearable to watch, unlike the past two films. Well, I mean, I'm just speaking in general because I personally enjoyed both films, but I could see other people's perspective as to why they did not really care for them. All right, so moving on, something else that has happened lately is that two actors who appeared in the original Independence Day almost 20 years ago, wow, it's been that long, 19 years ago actually, have been confirmed to return. Brent Spiner, aka Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, and Bill Pullman from, of course, the very first Independence Day and Spaceballs. So it doesn't surprise me that Bill Pullman is returning. I knew that was going to happen. The fact that this movie is supposed to be set 20 years after the very first movie, obviously Bill Pullman's character, I do not think he's still going to hold the office of president, obviously. However, considering this is a post-invasion world and it's probably taken society, not just America, but society overall, years to rebuild and recommunicate, to reach out to each other and form new governments in a post-invasion world, he very well could have some kind of leadership role or rank where he may not hold the title or office of president, but he is some kind of leader as far as the American side of it goes. Or maybe he's just a private citizen now. Maybe life has returned to normal after 20 years, except we have upgraded weapons and upgraded technology to prevent another invasion, or for us to have an early warning system if more spaceships arrive. Either way, I'm glad to see him returning. I liked him as the president in the first movie, so I'm glad that he's back. I just doubt his character will be the same. He just won't hold the office of president. Now, regarding Brent Spiner's return, this is what really puzzled me. I'm like, huh? I thought he died. Dr. Oaken died in the first movie. The whole infamous, "Release me now. Peace. There can be..." You know what I'm talking about. Again, another movie, when I saw it for the first time, I loved it, except for that whole sequence where the alien is communicating through his vocal cords with his tentacles wrapped around his neck. That part, and that part alone, terrified me, scared the hell out of me. But overall, my first experience with Independence Day was great, except for that one scene, which terrified me. But of course, years later, I saw it again, and I was okay with it. Anyway, just personal history. But it's like, how can he return? I mean, I'm pretty sure he died in the first movie, and he was dead when he was pressed up against the glass because the alien was just using his vocal cords, since they obviously can't speak English. However, it's been revealed that the director, Roland Emmerich, or Emmerich, I'm sorry for butchering your last name, sir, if you ever see this, but he has stated that according to the director's DVD commentary, he reveals that Dr. Oaken, Brent Spiner's character, actually went into a coma and was never really dead when the alien attacked him in his lab and used him to communicate with the humans on the other side of the glass. He was just in a coma-induced state while he was pressed up against the glass. Although when the sergeant goes up to him and checks his vitals and moves his face around, he looks clearly dead. It's like Dr. Oaken is definitely dead. Now, I have not watched Independence Day with the director's commentary, so it's possible that I just might have missed that, and it's been on there all these years, and everybody else might have known that. Although, it seems like the news story startled and confused a lot of people. But, hey, you know what? If that's the only problem that this movie is going to be facing, of whether or not they're bringing a character back to life or a character never really died, fine, okay. I mean, I'm still looking forward to the sequel. I mean, I was just a little thrown off at first, but when they provided an explanation, I'm like, oh, okay, but whatever. I'm not going to sweat over it. And then moving on, Universal has announced that they have made several major release date changes regarding several upcoming films, including Warcraft, the one I was looking forward to, the upcoming untitled reboot of The Mummy, which is supposed to be the first official entry into the Universal Monsters universe. Try saying that 3 times really fast. And they're also delayed the second installment, or technically third installment, since they consider Dracula Untold to be the unofficial first entry. But anyway, that affected the release date for that as well. And most importantly, unfortunately, they delayed the release date of Pacific Rim 2. Do not panic, everybody. I was a little freaked out at first myself, but fortunately, when I read the story, it was just pushed from April of 2017 to August of the same year. So it's only it's only 4 months, okay? It's just a 4-month difference. So, nothing to completely panic about, and now they have more time to work on it and make it good. Because I'm sure Guillermo del Toro has had his hands full. I mean, his new show, The Strain, which is awesome, and I highly recommend, which premiered last summer. Second season is returning to FX later this summer in July. He's been working on that, and then he's got another horror movie coming out called Crimson Peak, I believe. I may have said that wrong. It's definitely not Crimson Tide. That's the Gene Hackman submarine movie with Denzel Washington. No, this is Crimson Peak. Yep, Crimson Peak, the new horror movie with Tom Hiddleston and what's her name? Jessica Chastain. Yeah, from Interstellar. That's right. Barf. Anyway, so Del Toro's had his hands full, but I'm sure, on his plate, he's got Pacific Rim 2 right there, since obviously, he had a big hand in the first one, and he's definitely going to be doing the second one. So yeah, great. Just more time for him and his team to make it good and fun and entertaining. I personally was a little disappointed that they announced that The Mummy had been pushed it back, because originally that was going to be released next June 24th, 2016. A retelling of the Mummy story, which would include a tease at the Monster Universe. Unfortunately, that has now been pushed to March of 2017, which in turn forces the second or third monster installment, which is, rumor has it, it's a reboot of The Wolfman, or it could be a reboot or a remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon, starring Marvel's very own Scarlett Johansson. If that were the case, she'd have the rare, not necessarily quirk, but the distinction of appearing in 2 cinematic universes, if indeed they go for it. And so that's the rumor. So that movie, which was originally slated for April of 2017, whether it be a reboot, remake of Wolfman or Creature from the Black Lagoon, has now been pushed to April or March of 2018. But it's definitely early 2018. And then Furious 8, I believe, is set also for early 2018. Obviously, that's no surprise, because Furious 7 has been doing so well at the box office. And I hate to admit it, guys, but I still have not seen Furious 7 because I am behind on the franchise overall. I have only seen The Fast and the Furious, the very first one, way back from 2001, years ago, and I honestly did not care for it that much, but I'm thinking about giving it a second chance because I've heard nothing but good things about these exciting, fun car chase movies. And I've heard nothing but good things about Furious 7, so I'm definitely going to get restarted on that franchise. So those were the big shifts and move dates for Universal. I hope they know what they're doing with their Monster Universe, because I'm very much looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm a little bummed that we won't see The Mummy next year, but we'll see it the year after that. So hopefully, it's good. It's worth the wait. And I was just glad that Pacific Rim 2's release date was only changed not by years, but by months. Only a 4-month difference. So nothing too serious in that matter, fortunately. All right, you guys, I believe I have covered everything there is to be covered. And unless I forgot to mention anything, or if you know any other news stories or events that have happened recently these past couple of weeks, please feel free to sound off below, comment, share this video, like, subscribe, and please feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions below. Let's try to be respectful of one another's opinions. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching, and I promise you more videos are to come, like I said in my previous video, as we get closer and closer to blockbuster season.